If you're someone who's never been on my channel before, or if you're 95% of my subscribers who don't watch my videos, then you might not be aware that on the 10th of July I was involved in a car crash. Now, I'm gonna be fine, I will be fit and healthy and back to work again soon hopefully, but my spine unfortunately suffered some damage. And as a result, I was discharged from the hospital and I spent pretty much the entire month stuck on the second floor of my house. The problem with this is that my PC and Xbox are on the third floor of the house. And because of my injury, I was told to avoid stairs in case I damaged my back or I fell down. As such, despite how much I yearned to do so, I was in a bit of a boring situation. For the first week I was unable to do anything really to alleviate my boredom, as my laptop had been in the car and I didn't get it back until the next week. And when I did get it back, despite how much I love editing and making videos, part of me still yearned for my Xbox and for the ability to record gaming content, especially as I started to do some streams on Twitch slightly before the accident happened. As such, I was really depressed because I wouldn't be able to do any sort of gaming, especially as my laptop had very little space for me to download games. Well, that's what I thought until I remembered that Xbox had introduced a cloud gaming system a little while ago for a selected number of games. So I opened the Xbox app on my laptop and look at that! A whole variety of games that I could play without having to use my Xbox and without having to constantly install and uninstall games that I wanted to play. And you know what? It's not actually that bad of a system, especially considering that my internet isn't amazing and my laptop is pretty old. And on top of that, many of these games have been adapted so that you can stream them on your phone as well, allowing me to easily game without waking up someone else or when using my laptop would be inconvenient for me. Now, before I get into it, let me say, the system isn't perfect. Far from it actually. I totally understand why Google Stadia was such a failure, because only being able to stream games and having to pray for a good connection is not a good foundation for your gaming experience. Sometimes the games might take a while to connect to a server, sometimes they just wouldn't connect to a server at all and I'd need to wait for about 10 minutes before trying again. When I actually got into the games, the streaming was usually good, but the servers can be a bit crashy at times. And sometimes they would crash so badly I literally could not play the game. Some games, because of the low amount of data needed to play them, would be completely fine, while other higher gigabyte games would take a while to get going and sometimes the frame rate would be extremely bad. Overall, however, it wasn't a completely negative experience. It helped me to provide a stable aspect to my life that I otherwise wouldn't be able to enjoy for months, and it made me try out some new games, which is what I'll be explaining in the rest of the video. But before I get onto that, I guess what I'm trying to explain in a less than elegant way is that the cloud gaming system is a neat and valuable piece of technology, and I genuinely hope that Xbox continues to work on it and perfect it, because it's such a convenient system that even once I get better, I might not always go up to the Xbox upstairs whenever I want to play games. I might just play them from the comfort of my bed. And I would highly suggest that you check it out as well. It's incredibly useful if you enjoy gaming on the go, there's plenty of games that work on mobile, and in fact one of the games I'm going to discuss played better on mobile than it did on laptop. I will say, just don't come in expecting it to be like a console experience. You are going to have network issues, you are going to have a lot more crashes. At some points in the day you might not be able to get on at all, and other times it might still be quite laggy. However, I do appreciate how convenient the system is, and when it does work perfectly, it's incredibly perfect for a while. And if you're ever in a situation where you're unable to access a console and you just want something to pass the time, going on to cloud gaming is an incredibly useful resource. So now, onto the games. We'll start with Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, also known as TABS. It's a strategy game that focuses on making your army and doing your best to eliminate your opponent's army. Now, this sounds completely normal on paper, but it's made incredibly fun by the fact that not only do you have a variety of factions to choose from ancient Greeks to the Wild West to pirates to demonic vampires and skeletons, but the physics engine makes your game completely unpredictable. You see, the characters in this game are called wobblers, a group of beings that struggle to even walk properly as they constantly bob around and trip over themselves. Because of this, whenever they use their attacks, they run the risk of tripping over and not getting back up, completely destroying their vehicles by accident because they can't drive them properly, to expertly dodging their opponents because they're flopping around so much their opponents can't hit them. You can create an army, make it fight your opponent, lose the match because your main power unit got stuck on his own sword, restart with the exact same army, and have your army completely decimate your opponents when you changed absolutely nothing about it, or because your opponent's vehicle made a sharp turn, got stuck upside down and fell into the water to drown. There's so much unpredictability in this game that it adds a ton of replayability. There's a bunch of campaigns to go through, secret units to find, and you can go up against friends or play custom created maps of the online settings. I would highly recommend this game. It's better on PC, but you can also use your phone if you want. It just gets a bit tedious trying to manage all the different controls. Next, we have Minecraft Dungeons, a dungeon crawler that makes you fight through a variety of levels and enemies to try and free the overworld from the clutches of an illager that gets a magical power that lets him control the world. Throughout the game, you unlock a variety of different equipment and weapons, and you'll use these to take on the hordes that you fight throughout the levels, and there's usually a few boss fights here and there. You can also find hidden levels and secrets throughout the game, and if you choose to replay the missions on higher difficulties, you can unlock even more secrets hidden in the maps. You come equipped with a ranged weapon, which can be bows, crossbows and staffs, melee weapons, which can be swords, daggers and axes. You can swap out your armour for other armour that has a variety of different stats, from arrow capacity, melee damage and healing abilities. You also get access to cooldown items, with you having the healing potion and 3 items that you can equip to help you during combat. Whether it be fireworks that deal a massive amount of damage, a fishing rod that pulls enemies towards you, or totems that let you put a healing aura around the arena, healing you and your friends. The game is pretty enjoyable. As I said, there's a wide range of enemies and worlds for you to fight through. You unlock different villages that can help provide upgrades to your base. There's an emerald currency that you can use to unlock stronger equipment for you to take on your missions. And there's a sort of challenge tower system that lets you get some practice in and unlock rewards. I will say that this seems like a live service game, and as such there is a microtransaction system and there's season passes to unlock, but I mostly just ignore this and I didn't feel like I was missing anything, so you don't need to worry about that too much in case you feel like it's going to be predatory on your gaming experience. I will say that this game surprisingly felt better to play on mobile than it did on PC with a controller. I can't really explain why, but maybe it's because all the buttons are right in front of your thumb, so it's easier to use stuff. On to the next game, another strategy game called Besiege. I didn't have a good experience with it. Now, I've seen online that some people can make some amazing constructs, and I do like the idea of destroying everything in your path, but I struggled a bit. This game is in dire need of a tutorial, because just giving me vital pieces and then not giving me any idea where I'm supposed to place it and what it does instantly puts me off the game. I fully admit I got about 5 missions in, then I was supposed to figure out how to shoot a target on a hill without being given any explanation about how to target up or move my vehicle up, and then I just quit. It seems like it could be a fun game, but any game that requires you to read a Wikipedia page or to watch YouTube tutorials just to understand the basics, in my opinion, has failed. Up next, we have My Friend Peppa Pig. Yeah, you heard me right. And let me tell you, this game is an absolute dumpster fire of a game. This game must have been made out of cardboard and stale glue, because with the complete lack of content and features, there's no way why this game should play as bad as it does. The best thing about this game is the sarcastic reviews other people have made about it. Completely unironically, I'm extremely tempted to do a full review about this game, because it is one of the most excruciating things I've ever played, and it being a kids game is no excuse. Speaking of making reviews on excruciating experiences, I also played Scorn. And not only was it a horrible experience for the main character to go through, but it was also a horrible experience for me to go through. Now, I will most likely definitely be making a video on this. I know I'm late to the experience, but there's no excuse that a game that was in development for this many years has so little story or gameplay. Moving on back to games that have Minecraft in the name, we have Minecraft Legends. An action strategy game where you need to go around the overworld and unite its armies to fight back against the evil pigling army from the Nether, which is attempting to take over the overworld. In this game, your character is in charge of getting resources from the environment and using them to upgrade yourself, defending villages and attacking pigling strongholds to drive them back. I honestly personally don't think I've ever played a game like this before. It's kinda like a strategy game that you need to create your army and use that to destroy structures and defeat enemies, but you yourself also contribute into the fight by building structures and using your sword to fight smaller enemies. There's a wide variety of hidden objects and mounts in the game that can give you different advantages, and you're more than welcome to take the game at your own pace. I guess it's also interesting from a lore perspective if you're into Minecraft. It helps to show us why some mobs and objects in the main game act the way they do, with the most noticeable thing being it shows you how the Illagers came into being. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It can be a bit tedious sometimes, as before you get upgraded you burn through your army very quickly, so you have to keep running backwards and forwards to get fresh troops. But overall it's a very casual experience and you get the hang of things eventually. Finally, we have Serious Sam, Siberian Mayhem. I actually forgot that Serious Sam 4 was a thing, to be honest, and I certainly wasn't expecting to see a winter spin-off from that. Also, a bit of a spoiler warning, from what I understand the main villain in this game is actually a plot twist villain in Serious Sam 4, so be sure to play that first, because playing this first will spoil it completely. Now, I'm going to explain the game in two different ways, depending on if you've played previous games in the series. If you're not a Serious Sam fan, Serious Sam has the gameplay style of the old boomer shooters like Doom and Duke Nukem, where the sole goal is to just clear out all the enemies and reach the endpoint. It centres around Sam Stone as he attempts to fight off a global alien invasion led by Mental, a genocidal galactic emperor that wants to kill or enslave everything in the galaxy. There's a wide variety of different weapons, from shotguns to assault rifles to rocket launchers to literal cannons that fire cannonballs. As you progress, enemies will spawn in waves, and you have to use your high speed, reflexes and environment to eliminate them as efficiently as possible. There's also secrets hidden throughout the game, allowing you to unlock upgrades and certain weapons that you can't find by playing the game normally. There's also a skill tree for you to upgrade Sam, giving him abilities such as gaining health from melee kills, to dual wielding any weapon he wants, to being able to ride some of the enemies and use them to score kills. There's also vehicle sections that allow you to explore more of the map, and it's usually these sections that have the most secrets to it. Now, if you are a Serious Sam fan, then this game is just the same as every other Serious Sam game. Like, this gameplay is basically exactly the same as Serious Sam 3, which came out like 10 years ago. It's not as bad as the whole Borderlands 3 is just Borderlands 2 with a new lick of paint thing, because as I said, this game has introduced new features, but they're mostly inconsequential to the main game. In fact, in my first playthrough, I actually didn't even buy any perks and I was completely fine. I was just playing Serious Sam 3 again. However, I'm not actually that upset because the core gameplay is something that was set about 30 years ago, and you can only add so much to that before you lose what makes it interesting. I will say that the cutscenes are really bad. Like, really bad. Everything is awkward and stiff. Like it was an animation test that got glossed up and put in the final game. But it's cheesy enough that you can't get too upset about it. And as I said, it's mostly here for the core gameplay, so I can ignore it. I do think they need to stop making prequels, however. Going on a bit of a tangent now, the first few Serious Sam games were set in order. Then, Serious Sam 3 was a prequel showing the events that led up to Sam going back in time in the first game. Now this isn't exactly necessary, but it adds context to the story and helps to flesh out the world building. But then, Serious Sam 4 was just a random story set on Earth that didn't really add much to the world building or Sam's character, at least from what I can tell. It was just an excuse to make a game. And here it's even more unjustifiable because, spoiler alert, apparently this isn't even a canon part of the story. It's set in an alternate reality and it has nothing to do with the main storyline. At the end of this game, an older version of Sam arrives, says that this timeline is shit, and then he and the Sam you played as go through a portal and the game ends. So unless the next game focuses on time travel or the multiverse, I don't know how they're going to introduce these two Sams into the main timeline. So for the moment, this story just kind of felt a bit pointless to me. I think these developers really need to start making games that are set further along in the storyline and actually show us some progression against Mental's forces and Sam's development. But I still enjoyed the game and would heavily recommend that you check it out for yourself. And yeah, that's about all the games that I've played on cloud gaming so far. I have played Immortals Fenyx Rising, but I haven't played enough of that to make a review for it, so I'm just going to leave it off this list for now. I'm enjoying it so far, but it's got a few niggles that I don't like. But yeah, cloud gaming was a very new experience for me. While I don't expect people to stop downloading games to play them, because it's a lot more safer and stable to play on games that have been installed, maybe every now and then there might be a situation where you get bored and you need something to play, in which case I would recommend that you try out the cloud gaming. It's not perfect, but it's better than nothing at this point, and they are continuing to improve on it. And hopefully with more added interest and more support by the fans, getting this cloud gaming into a more stable space will become a higher priority for Microsoft. Thank you for watching my video. I really hope you've gained an interest into the Xbox cloud gaming scene. It seems like a really promising thing. I just really hope they keep at it and they keep making it better every single time, because it's got a lot of potential. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and maybe checking out some of the other videos. If you really enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. And if you really enjoyed this video, please consider checking out my Patreon. You can also find me on Twitter, and I do some Twitch streams, not that many, and especially now that my back is bad, but you know, I'm getting there. But overall, I just hope you had an enjoyable experience, and I hope to see you in the next video.